Welcome to another episode of Unscripted with Marilyn Morales. I am here this morning with someone who is not in the United States. It actually is the afternoon for her. So I am in 10:30 in the morning, and it's in the evening for her. And I'm excited to do interviews like this because it brings us all to a different perspective, because my next guest is actually in the future, right? So her name is Liad Webster. And Liad and I were connected by Jose Escobar of the CLA. And he thought that we would be a good match, one for the other. And he was 100% right. As soon as I met Liad, I was so intrigued by, all the different facets of her life. And I said, I have to have you on my show. So let me tell you a little bit about Liad. She has over 10 years of experience in the corporate world and a background as an executive personal assistant for C-level companies. Liad's industry background is in photography, printing, publishing, recruitment software, IT, financial services, and construction before stepping into business owner in the virtual world in 2020. You know how many of us, our lives completely changed because of 2020, because of the pandemic. And the same was for Liad, right? It was a transformational period for all of us. And at that time, she was laid off during her 9-to-5, and she knew she didn't want another corporate job. So let's welcome Liad to the show so that she can fill us in on what happened next. Hello.
Hi, Marilyn. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on to the show, right? We met just a couple of weeks ago, and I was
pretty intense.
Yeah. So tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from Cape Town, South Africa, the other side of the globe, basically, across the pond. Nice big pond between us. But yeah, so it is 20-6 in the evening for me.
Yeah, look at that. And I'm like, wow, so you're in the future. I like to
technically speaking, yes.
Yes, technically you're in the future. So definitely the story of being laid off in 2020 is one that so many people have, right? Their lives changed, or jobs changed, or they couldn't work as they usually did. They had to go remote into their home offices. They had children at home that they now had to help with their schooling. It really turned the world upside down. And the same thing happened to you. So fill me in a little bit about what happened in 2020.
It started off like a normal new year. We were all positive, excited. We had moved into new offices 3 months, 3 months before the new year had happened. So we were all really excited. It was brand new offices. I was excited. It was like going to be great, Then we got the notification that COVID was coming and we were going to be off for 2 weeks. That was what the government said. And I was like, 2 weeks? I don't think so, but okay. And we all cuddled around the office, and our director was telling us, it's going to be 2 weeks, but don't worry, guys, we'll be back in the office soon. And we may need to lay off, but that's going to be the very last step. And when he said it, I was like, yeah, that's me. I know it. It's cool. And then my friend at work was like, don't be silly, man. I was like, I'm the last person in this company. I'm definitely going first. But whatever, we all stayed home. I kept myself busy, like doing the work that I had to do. And then also I was finding time to look at different things to better the company, like a different system. So we were very old school at the time, and we did a lot of paperwork and stuff. And I was looking at taking our paperwork online and stop killing some trees. That would have been really great. So I was looking at a system called Monday.com, and I messaged one of the guys and I was like, look, do you want to look at the system with me? Maybe we can get the company on and we can set it up. And he was very IT sort of, but not IT, because we were in construction at the time. So he and I did it. We plugged in, played the whole thing, and I sent it to the directors and I'm like, have a look at the system. And the feedback was great. This is a good system, but we don't have the cash for it. And I was like, that's fine, but we should still park on this, and keep it. And then we were all summoned. I want to say summoned, but we weren't summoned, but to come back to work. And before we got summoned to come back to work, which was going to be the 1st of June, I got the message on the 19th of May that I was retrenched or laid off. My human resource director phoned me and he could hardly speak the words, because I'm sure it was not exactly the easiest thing. And
Right.
I know that we had never retrenched anybody, and we had gone through a few economic crises before. So I knew this was a tough choice that they made. I didn't think it was like, oh, great, let's get her out. But I knew it would be me anyway. So I was like, cool, thanks. Thank you. Cool.
So tell me something. And this is a story that I hear over and over, right? The 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We were all told in 2 weeks we'd be back to
Mhm.
normal. And obviously, 2 weeks turned into months that turned into years. 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Is what it actually turned into. And it was unprecedented, right? It had never happened to anybody before. So did you already have, because you had in your mind when you first heard it, it could be me, right? That's laid off.
Yeah.
Did you already
Yeah.
have a plan B in the works in case it was you? Or were you still optimistically thinking that you would be kept?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. I had already started my virtual assistant business back in 2019 in August. I didn't register until after I got laid off. What I was trying to do is I was trying to do the side hustle because why not? I mean,
That's
I
right.
could push myself. I had just myself and my partner. We lived at home with 2 dogs. Life was great. We still have a great life and stuff. So I was like, why can't I try this? I found it to be a little bit more challenging. I'm never one to say no to a challenge, but it was not as simple as a lot of people made the side hustle to be. You had
Right.
to try build a relationship with somebody in the USA because USA knew about being virtual assistants, the UK and the USA. It just wasn't as simple as a lot of people in the virtual space were making it out to be. So I eventually just was like, the company found out as well that I had done this, and they weren't exactly impressed with me at all.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Why not? Because actually it would have benefited them.
Yeah, they didn't see that. They weren't happy. They just weren't happy about it. They weren't happy that I was doing the work that I was doing for them. I was doing for other people as well in my spare time. They didn't. That's okay. I think if we had a different conversation, I think if I had gone to them and told them I had this company and this is what I wanted to do, it could have been a different conversation. If I was a little more open and honest, and I wasn't being, negative and deceitful and stuff like that, but I was just like, I don't think they'll go for it anyway. I've been here 4 years. I don't see that happening, but I also never really gave it a shot at the same time. I never actually went to my directors and said, hey, look, I'm going to start a virtual assistant company. What do you think about me working virtually for you guys? Or can you give me some time off to work this? But anyway, my director and I had a conversation. To say the least, they were hurt by it because they found out via the grapevine. And it was what it was, and I thanked them for the meeting and I left. I was really hurt by the conversation because obviously I wasn't expecting it.
Right.
But it is what it is, and I stopped the website. I stopped all the social medias. That was in January of 2020, and then when fast forward a couple of months to May, and I'd been retrenched. I was driving in the car with my boyfriend, and I was like, oh, I really have to rename the company now because it was always Al Webster Virtual Assistant. And, I still want the company. So maybe I should name it to like the executive assistant or, and he turned around and said to me, for what? You've been retrenched. There's nothing anyone can do to you. And I was like, oh, yeah, I've been retrenched or I've
And
lost my
it's
job.
your company, right? It's your
Yeah.
company. And it was and that's it. Did they consider it like a conflict of interest? Is that what
I think that's how they felt about it being a conflict of interest because it was offering executive admin services and support to other
to other
directors and stuff.
companies, right? And you could
So
potentially use their information.
yeah, but I mean,
With
it's a
their
quick
system.
NDA. I mean, I've signed all my NDAs and contracts with them. But anyway, so I'm not regretful of the way I did it. I think it all happened for a reason. That was the thing.
Right.
That was, for me, it was, you did what you thought was going to happen or you knew could potentially happen. And I was like, all right, I have a company. I've been laid off. Potentially screwed for the next couple of years financially because what are the chances of getting another job? But at the same time, I was like, screw it, I don't want a corporate job. I'm so over it. I've been in this industry for 10 years. I was over it. I knew by the age of 21 I wanted my own company. I just didn't
Oh,
know what I
wow.
wanted to do.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Okay.
Let's go back. Let's go
Okay.
back. So, doing all of this and being able to think fast forward, if this happens to me, and I always say have a plan B, C, and D, right? Because you never know what's going to happen. I always think ahead that way myself, and I
Yeah.
always have. So,
Mhm.
like you mentioned, you knew way before that you wanted your own company and that you were a different kind of person. Share with me what that 20-year-old Leanne looked like.
20-year-old Lian was probably irresponsible, like most 20-year-olds. I was working. I was working at a photographic company, a really prestige one in town, Cape Town, CBD. Going out with my friends and stuff like that, but learning as much as I could, taking on responsibilities and roles within that company. Was there for 4 years. So that was the base. I wasn't going to leave anytime soon. I was going to learn as much as I could. But I think my business mindset or my need or want for a business is further back than that. My grandpa and his son, my uncle, had a business ever since I was young. I only knew them to work for themselves, and they had a home office. They had the garage had whatever they needed, whatever they were supplying and stocking and stuff like that. So from a very young age, I was taught to answer a phone professionally, like pick up the
Oh, they
phone
were
and go.
training you for success from an early
Yes,
age.
yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time that I spent holidays, weekends was at my grandparents' house. My mom is a single parent. She worked Monday to Friday and then sometimes on Saturdays as well. And so I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house, and my grandpa would teach me some things. When we used to go for dinners, like for my birthday, we'd always go out for supper, and whether it would be the Spur or a New York bagel in Sea Point, which is a nice restaurant there in Sea Point, when I could like get to 10 years old and want nicer things. He always used to give me the credit card, and then he'd go, okay, you can pay for it. And then I used to be like, okay, do we just scrunch up the receipt? He's like, no, we keep it. And I'm like, what do we keep the receipt for? He's like, business tax. I'm like, what is that? And he's like, well, when you have a business, you can write off certain stuff for tax. And I was like, what do you write it off for? He's like, entertainment and meetings. I was like, oh, cool. Back of the head, store it. I'm gonna have a business. I'm gonna be writing some entertainment meetings.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing
So
that. That's fantastic that he was able to do that. So
yeah,
taking work and still engaging you and teaching you, that was beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
to
I
have that
think
experience.
I think it came from back a long line of my grandpa and my uncle having the business and me being exposed to that. My mom also worked in the business, sometimes on the weekends and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, we were all very much involved in the business some way. My gran used to make amazing cups of tea and coffee for the men,
Mhm.
and I used to help with lunches. But yeah, so for me, I think it stems from back then being exposed to business at a very young age. And seeing, not really knowing, but at least seeing trying times with them, because there are days or months or a period that it doesn't go always well in business, and I could see it, or I'd overhear a mini conversation, and then I would see them huddle and bounce back and do something about whatever it was. I mean, I don't know, I was very young at the time. I mean,
But they were
so
figuring it out, and that's what you saw, that you don't give up, right? You don't crumble.
exactly,
You
you
figure
don't
it out.
just,
That's what you
yeah,
were learning as you were watching. And I talk about this a lot with single moms, right? Single parents. Um, that the biggest lesson you can teach is by example, is by showing, because that's how I learned, through watching my mom, right? And how she dealt with challenges of moving from Puerto Rico to New York. And I only knew her after I was born in New York, right? So I only knew how to observe her challenging situations and dealing with them when English wasn't her first language, right? It was her second
and
language. She was
overcoming
able
them.
to navigate all those things. And I was
Yeah.
just watching, right? So it brings me to your mom, who was a single
Okay.
mom, right? What
Yes.
lessons did you learn from mom that you feel have helped you in your adult life?
A lot. So much. To always be positive, even in trying times, to keep positivity, to especially with my mom, she gave me the good and the bad when it came to situations. So this is what happened. This didn't happen this time, especially with my dad. So I was able to make a very informed decision without being biased to my mom, who I was living with and caring for. She didn't make it as if she was, the goddess of goddess parents, and my dad was some, horrible dad. She just said to him, this happened, this didn't happen. He's not coming to fetch you this weekend. Maybe he'll come next weekend. He didn't come most of the time, and that's okay with me. So I was, from a very young age, able to make a very informed decision on people, especially my dad, what kind of person he was. And I don't judge him or think he's a negative or bad person. It's just family life maybe wasn't what he needed at the time, if you know what I mean. He maybe wasn't ready for that when my mom and him got together. So yeah, I think from my mom, I learned to just hold my head up high and keep going and look for sunshine in dark times.
I love that. I really love that. And she was very much just transparent with everything, that she explained things to you, right? Instead of just shooing you away in your questions, was able to sit you down and say, hey, stuff happens, right? So she had a level of resilience that she passed on to you through her example.
I mean, at one time we got broken into, which happens to people, you get broken into. And I remember they cut up my new duvet to carry stuff out of the house. I mean, I don't know what they carried anymore. I know they carried my TV games. I was very upset about that. They cut my pretty red and floral duvet, which is very odd because I don't really like pretty flower thingies, but anyway. And I was really upset about it. And she was like, it's fine, I'll get you a new one. And I was like, okay, it'll be fine, I can get a new one. I don't know if I ever got it, but it doesn't matter. She made me like, it's fine. It shit happens. Can I say that?
Yeah. Yeah. Now I know you're a mom, right?
Yes.
How old is your little guy?
He will be 2 years on Tuesday.
On Tuesday. Well, happy birthday ahead for him.
Thank you.
So do you see yourself carrying over those same lessons that you witnessed over to your son now?
Yeah. And
Talk
the
to me a little bit
important
about
ones I've also learned along the way. Most of it will always be to just crisis manage and be positive when crises are happening, because it doesn't matter. The sunlight comes or the storm passes. So yeah, I definitely will be passing over the really positive, even the negative experiences I've had. That's what my family's always done. They've told me things about when my grandpa and my granny lived in when they were kids and how tough times were for them. And then they explained to like how things were tough when they had kids with my mom and her uncle. I mean, even though they had a better life than my grandparents, it was still tough. Even though I had a better life than what my mom had, it was still sometimes tough. So yeah, I will be generation bringing on all those knowledge and to pass it on and just to teach him as much as I could and can do.
right? Because he's going to have it tough. He may have it better than you did, but he's still going to have tough times. Nowhere does it say that we're not going to have tough times, right? So your baby is 2, meaning that you had him around this pandemic situation.
Yeah, that's a funny, weird topic, because when I got retrenched, the notification came out, and my partner and I, we still said, let's wait to find out what your work does about retrenchment. And if you don't get retrenched, we'll have a baby, because COVID taught us that nothing is more important right now than now. What are we waiting for? Why do we need? We've got the house. Who cares? Let's just do it. And then I got retrenched, and I wasn't exactly like, it wasn't like, oh, we were gonna have a baby right now. We were gonna like, okay, fine, let's figure it out, kind of thing. But let's not wait about it. I was in the shops with my mom and turned around and saw some baby stuff, and I wanted to cry because I was like, I'm not having a baby anytime soon. And I love kids. I've always loved kids. It's been my favorite thing. Okay, like the toddler phase is my favorite thing.
Yeah. Can we skip over the baby?
Yeah, we'll just go straight to toddlers so that I can just have fun with them and play with them and stuff. So yeah, I've always loved kids, and that was the first time that I had really like, I'm not going to have a baby anytime soon. And this pandemic, not being able to have work, is potentially going to screw my financial situation up for the next 2 to 5 years, because they're expecting the pandemic to last 5 to 10 years. So I'm like, okay, well, I've got my business. I don't know how long it's going to last. I mean, I have every intention of making it last, but I don't know how long this process is going to take before I start, seeing profits or making good money. And then, well, we fell pregnant in 2021.
Had the baby anyway.
Fell pregnant in 2021, had the baby in 2021 as well. So yeah.
Wow. So that was still in the throes of everything. Vaccines were just coming out and things like that.
Yeah.
And at the time, was your partner allowed in the room with you? I don't recall. 2021, he was. Okay.
Yes, we were. We did ask the hospital about that, and they were like, at this time of us giving birth, there was each hospital was on its own. While we were governed by the government, we were also allowed certain things. So it was on a per case basis. So how many cases of COVID were at the hospital? If they were overrun by a lot of cases, then no one outside the hospital except for mom and dad were allowed to be in the hospital, which meant our parents would just drop off food if we needed something and leave. They would never let us see us. So we were a little bit nervous, because come December time, it started to spike a little. And we were like, oh, we're probably not sure if anyone's going to be able to see us. But the hospital we chose probably was a really good area. So they didn't have many cases at the time of us birthing. So we could come and go. Well, I mean, Keenan could come and go as he pleased. And our parents came in, and my mom and my gran, and, so we were very fortunate to have people come and see us when our kid was born. So yeah.
Yeah, listen, that's great. There's only a unique amount of you that have a story like that have had your children during the pandemic, right? So that's going to go down in generations, that story.
But that was also a really scary time, because the third or fourth wave was in, and we were, worried about if I got COVID and what would happen to me, what would happen to baby. And we had already seen and heard horror stories of moms that were coming heavily pregnant, going to the hospital, being put on oxygen, and then wheeled in to go have an emergency C-section at whatever time, however long they were pregnant. And then babies were being saved, but mummies weren't being saved at the time.
Wow.
So there's a lot of kids that were born with moms being COVID, and they don't have their moms anymore. So at that point, we were like, great, no one is visiting us until I've had this baby. And we only go, there was a certain period where the doctor was like, okay, if you don't feel a kick, then we obviously need to move to the hospital after 20 minutes. So I would just move to my in-laws' house and sit there and work from home, because my mom and Keenan were both within 5 minutes from their house. And in my in-laws, my mother-in-law literally worked from home as well for herself. So if I had to go, I had people to take me. Oh. So yeah, that was kind of a nerve-wracking time, but we survived it. So yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be the resounding theme, right? Throughout your life, stuff happens, and we just work it out. We just figure it out.
Be positive when we keep going.
Be positive and figure that out. That's fantastic. So right now you have your own company, and again, what's it called? Share with my viewers.
It is it trades as Al Webster Consulting at the moment, but officially we are Al Webster Virtual Assistant.
And what do you guys do?
We do virtual assistant work, and we do project managers. So we set up a system all over the world, internationally. So we set up systems, we calendar manage, email manage, some projects, website projects and stuff. Like a couple of clients will ask me, they want to redo their website. I don't do the websites, but I do have people that can do websites. So then I just find them the website guys. It's just a simple example, but find them the website guy, and then I project manage that website. So I'm in contact with all the project managers and all the people that we need to get information from and make sure that runs as smoothly as possible.
Yeah. So even in your business, you're doing the same thing you've done in life. Troubleshoot.
Crisis management.
Yes, crisis management. And you've learned this from the time that you were born. Love it. So this is a question that I ask all of my guests. And given everything that you've just shared with me, what is your definition of success?
Oh, that is a brilliant question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. And if I have, I stand corrected. I think my definition for success would be that my team is successful in their personal lives. I have a team, and I would like them to have success. Whatever their success is, I would like to be part of that success. So I don't know, like I can't elaborate on them because I didn't get permission to speak about stuff. But for me, I would like to give the team opportunities, as many opportunities. I had great opportunities where I worked. I didn't always have opportunities, like, within the working environment. Some companies don't always give you opportunities. And I decided to, from when I started, what do I want to, do differently if I have a team? And that's what I did. I took everything that I liked from each company and explored that more. And then what I didn't like from each company and how do I make it better? And yeah, for me, I want to be able to give the team value. I want them to feel valued. They need to be appreciated. So our company vision, company culture, mission, vision is appreciation, warmth, honesty, and transparency. And that is what I want the team. I want them to have that. I want me to be that for them to be that to me. And then I want to give them as much value as I can.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, because not a lot of CEOs, not a lot of presidents think that way outside of themselves, right? And leaving your team better than when you found them, when you formed them. You're leaving them in a better situation. So I love that. I love that. I wish more CEOs thought like that. That is success. That is success, not just for you, but for your entire team.
Yeah.
So absolutely love that. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm going to be sharing all contact information for Liad. It's going to be in the description. So reach out to her. She's all over the world, virtual assistant. I love her. I'm going to be using her. and I encourage everybody else to as well. So thank you for being here with me today. And I will see you next time.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, everybody. My name is Gabrielle Morales, and I am a recruitment coordinator for Be The Match. My journey with Be The Match actually began when I was only 9 years old. At that point, my 7-month-old baby sister was diagnosed with an extremely rare form of leukemia. Through the Be The Match registry, we were able to find a matching donor for my sister. And although a few months later, we lost her, her cancer was cured. Our family is so thankful for the additional months that we had with my sister. And ever since then, I've made a promise to myself to dedicate my life to helping children just like Isabella and helping families like ours by continuing her legacy. Hence why I now work for Be The Match. I love what I do so much, and I'm able to spread awareness about the huge need for more donors on the registry, especially those of diverse backgrounds. There is currently a huge disparity within the registry for minority patients, and we need your help. It is so simple to save a life and to be put on the registry. You can visit izzy'slegacy.com or text Izzy's Legacy to the number 61474 to start the registration process to be on the Be The Match registry, to hopefully be a life-saving match for a searching patient in need.